มากนะฮะ
value purchasing
ครับ
ใช่ค่ะ
อ่า
คือพิตตี้ที่ขายของนี่เองใช่ไหมคะพี่ ใช่ค่ะ
นะฮะดู
ตรงไปตรงมา
ดึงดูดมากเลยฮะเดินผ่านโอ้โหขนลุกเกลียวเลยนะฮะเขาขายแป้งเย็นนะฮะ
หนูเห็นตู้เย็นข้างนอกที่ขายที่แจกของนี่ก็ไม่เบานะพี่กว่า
โอ้
จะแวะเข้ามาในห้องได้เนี่ยนะ ใช่ไหมคะ
อย่าบอกเขาสิ นะฮะ
ค่ะ
อินติเมซี่มากเลยนะครับแมกนัมอ้าวผมบอก ผมบอกเองซะนี่นะแม้ยังไงกันนะ
โอเค
แล้ว
ค่ะ
ต่อไปนี่เราเป็นเซสชั่นสำคัญด้วย
ค่ะ next is our special session is a panel discussion under the topic of winning consumer hearts and minds
ครับ แล้วก็เป็นช่วงที่เป็นธีมของคอนเฟรนซ์ครั้งนี้ด้วยนะครับ Winning Consumer Hearts and Mind นะครับ ซึ่งจะมีผู้บริหารระดับสูงจากบริษัทชั้นนำนะครับ หลายท่านนะฮะ ซึ่งเราสองคนก็คงจะต้องขอมอบหน้าที่ผู้ดำเนินรายการนะครับ ให้กับผู้ช่วยศาสตราจารย์นะครับ ดร.การดีเลียวไพโรจน์มหาวิทยาลัยธรรมศาสตร์ครับ
A warm welcome to Dr. Gandhi Leo Pairot, Assistant Professor from Thammasat University, and a round of applause.
ERC Thailand Core Salmon Manufacturers, Dr. Viwat Gritsada Sima, and Mr. Joe Deville, ERCR Thailand Core Salmon Retailers, the ECR Thailand Board members, distinguished guests. ต้องบอกว่าสวัสดีค่ะ My name is Gandhi Leo Pairot from Thammasat Business School. Today it's such an honor for me to host the Senior Executive Forum, Winning Consumer Hearts and Minds. Let's join me to welcome our distinguished speakers. First, Managing Director of Friesland Campina, Thailand, Mr. Chanin Ajananon. Please welcome. Next, Managing Director of Colgate Palmolive, Thailand, Mr. Andrew Shepherd. Chief Commercial Officer of Ekchai Distribution System Corporation Limited, Mr. Peter Wamuza. And last but not least, Vice President Supply Chain of Big C Supercenter Thailand, Mr. Neil McCain. Welcome. I prefer to sit here. Welcome you all once again to the Senior Executive Forum, Winning Consumers' Heart and Minds. Our four gentlemen here very distinguished and see what we have here. We're going to run through the question, but this forum will be quite informal. You guys can agree or disagree amongst yourself or pop in anytime as you like. So this is the ground rule. We will start with the very first question that we looking for this day with the idea or the theme of this conference saying winning consumers' hearts and minds. Sounds very difficult to do so. With the business we have here, entrepreneurs and representatives, if we're going to say, well, what would be the good strategy to begin this? Where should we start? Can do the cold call if you gentlemen don't jump.
I'll start us off.
Certainly.
I guess for me, when I think about winning hearts and minds, it comes down to how do you create passion on the part of the consumer. And to me, that starts with having a great consumer or shopper insight through qualitative or quantitative research, and then transforming that into an idea. And I think as manufacturers, many times we focus too much on just having an idea that's persuasive. And in my mind, it's just as important to be breakthrough, to break through the category paradigm, to have a breakthrough consumer benefit so that you drive recall of what you've done as well. So to me, it's about having a great insight, a persuasive proposition, and then executing in a way that you could drive high recall at the shelf in your advertising, in your product.
So that's pretty much like the end-to-end. Kun Chanin,
Maybe I want to add a little bit from the supplier point of view. I think people will not argue that, at the end of the day, consumer is the one who pay our bill or our salary. And I think we should start first and ask ourselves if our organization today has a passion on the consumer, and we have a consumer-centric organization, and it's not the job of the marketing or the job of the salesman pulling after this consumer. I think it's the whole organization has to have a focus and the passion on this. I think this is the first fundamental that we need to ask from the organization. And secondly, if we really have the focus, do we have the capability to follow the trend and understand the insight of this consumer? And after that, then we can ask ourselves, can we translate that insight into something that we can benefit or exceed the consumer expectation? And this is, I think, the three main things that we need to ask ourselves and where we are now as organization. And this is basically how I like to maybe share my thoughts to the audience.
Certainly. So this is passion, inside out. We talked about organization culture, or something that we need to have it in real in terms of the organization-wide, the thought and concept.
I think you win customers' minds through great products and great services. If you're going to win their hearts, it's also about how you operate as a business. I think for consumers to really love you as a business and love us as an industry, I think the challenge is for us to really examine the way we operate. Do we operate ethically? Do we operate in the right sort of way? So if you take, not specific to our industry, but particularly in the West, it doesn't matter how good the services currently being offered by the financial sector is. Bankers are seen as greedy, unscrupulous, cheating individuals, and the whole industry has been completely discredited. So I think one of the challenges for us as an industry and for us as individual companies, if we really want to win consumers' hearts, as well as just take the money from their pocket, we have to rigorously question ourselves in everything that we do. Are we doing the right thing? Are we being ethical? Or are products really breakthrough innovations? Or is it the same product just repackaged? As retailers, are our price promotions really price promotions? Or is it just a clever mechanic disguised to fool people to buy more? I think you have to question the integrity of every aspect of your organization.
Talks about the first thing that you started out with the great product and great service. Well, I can see for those companies that are actually inventing or developing new product, I can understand that. But if you're talking about the great service, go to the Peter in terms of the Tesco at the moment. What kind of scheme or strategy or the guidelines that they're basically doing, try to answer and try to win the consumers' hearts and minds?
All right, so I won't talk too much about product because I think you guys covered it. But specifically for a retailer, I think service is particularly important. Personal service in the stores, because we can create a great store looking great, and we can fill it with product, make it available, make it at a good price. But if the service isn't good, if people don't feel something personal about the experience, I think it lacks something. It's a very, very difficult thing to achieve. Think about when I managed a store, I had a few hundred people around me that I knew personally. I met them every day. I knew about their moods and their families and whatever, and I could enthuse them and excite them purely through my personality. And it worked. And people came to the store and they felt that it's personal. They felt that people put their hearts into it, and it was good. But when we have an organization here in Thailand, for example, we've got 1,200 stores and we've got 50,000 employees. It's a bit more difficult. But what our experience shows, the route, the way to it isn't to prescribe some rules and isn't to train people on some specifics. And because if you come to a store and you're served like by a robot, somebody saying good morning, thank you, goodbye, then you don't feel it. What works really on this is look after them. So if we care about our employees and do things for them and know what they want, then just naturally they just pass it on. They just care about the customer and look after the customer in a way that's individual for them, that comes out of them, comes from their heart rather than from a training. So it's, as I say, with 50,000 people, you sometimes get lucky in a store and sometimes get unlucky, but it needs to be personal.
It needs to be personal.
Yeah.
So, well, I can see a couple of keywords from this gentleman up here about winning consumer hearts and minds. Come up with the passion. that Andrew started with. And passion got to go through organization. We got to have to see the same vision, and this is how we're going to rolling out. Winning the heart, we need to give the heart. The other thing that you said, so this is precise, quite a cool answer. But if I'm going to dig down with
Okay,
this.
can I jump in into
Certainly.
that? I think that ties nicely to what you described as well about what you're in the business for. So if you're in the business for profit and money as an individual,
Okay.
then that's what you generate. That's the business ends up, and the climate that you create, and then you attract people who are in that for profits, and then they cut corners and don't really care. But if you're in the business, I think that's the question to ask yourself, kind of, is what am I in for? I'm in for enjoying it. I'm in for creating something. I'm enjoying giving something. Then you got a chance to create that kind of culture and pass it on.
You mean in the business as individual or as
Yeah.
an organization?
As
Because
an individual, and then as an organization,
Because-
an organization is just individuals, isn't it?
Yeah, it's comprised of individuals.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think, I agree very much with that. And I mean, it goes back to my point about integrity. You know, I think as an organization, you have to challenge yourself that are you behaving right? Is the business behaving right? And I think we all know of lots of examples of businesses that have good products, but are not loved by their customers because of the way they operate. It's not it's not perhaps a very good example for Asia, but there's a very successful discount airline based in Ireland called Ryanair, which has a great product, is incredibly successful, but is seen as a dishonest, disreputable organization because it heavily advertises very low flight prices, but by the time you add on your check-in costs, your luggage cost, your meal costs, they even wanted to charge you to go to the toilet on the plane. So they've
Which
lost.
airline was that?
Ryanair.
Are you serious? Are you
yes.
serious?
Yes.
Okay, I thought you were joking.
No.
Seriously.
And their whole credibility as an organization is damaged, despite them having a great product, because consumers feel that they are dishonest and have been cheated. So I think if you really want to win people's hearts, you know, it has to be a holistic approach.
Holistic approach. Andrew, would you like to add something?
Sure. I guess it's interesting. Part of what makes the integrity of a corporation, I think, so important today is just the ability of consumers to research and understand what you're doing. And there's an opportunity to build a relationship if you are a values-led company that I don't think you've ever had a chance to do before. And whether it's through websites or social media, there are opportunities to develop a one-to-one relationship. The last presenter was doing a great job talking about the TOPS reward program and how they seek to provide specialized values to their consumers. There are ways to customize your offering consumer by consumer in ways that there never have been.
I think there's an opportunity, but there's also more transparency. There's never been more information available about all the companies we work for. I think in the days gone past, without the internet, then it was very difficult for consumers to really understand. But if you type in any company's name into Google now, and there's pages and pages of information, good and bad. So there's a huge positive, but there's also a risk.
Yes, that's right. We
I
do have a lot of
completely
case studies
agree
on that.
with Neil, that in today's world, I think information is just so abundant, and if you're really passionate about consumer, you can hear and see a lot of consumer insights, and now it's come from free. It's not you have to go to the agency anymore, and you can see people freely talk about your brand, whether they like it, they recommend your brand, or they hate it, and they just also negatively recommend your brand to their friends. And it is something I think to share also to the marketing people, that we can in fact extract a lot of consumer insights from the internet today. And these are the insights that you can really do something with it, because it's free and natural feedback from the consumer. And I just want to add one more. I mean, the question you just talked right now about holistic. And that is the point I said earlier. It has to be the whole organization passionate about consumer. Because if it's only the job of one function, and at the end of the day, when you have this development of the mix to satisfy the consumer, you might have a lot of debate, either with the supply chain or manufacturing. Say, okay, at the end you have one ideal product the consumer wants, but the manufacturing people might say, you know, maybe you have to do this, that, because, you know, you're going to fit our line better or something like that. So you are, you know, going to end up with something that you have to do a lot of convincing internally, because only one organization, yeah, in your company is just only, you know, keep looking for inside the consumer, but the rest, they don't really believe in this, and that's not going to work, because you're going to go through a lot of internal debate and a lot of trade-off. And that's why I think holistic approach is very important. And the challenge, I think, for us as an organization today is that, you know, consumer is changing, and how can we capture different age group, different profile, because you talk about product for me as an individual, it is, you're going to see more and more consumer are a bit, you know, different. Yeah? If you are 10 years of age and you talk about people who are 50 years of age, I mean, there's a vast difference in terms of preference, and how can our organization can, you know, really win the hearts of this group. And that is the challenge that we need to face today. And on top of that, I think the trend and the behavior of consumers also changing every day and never been static. And how can we as an organization, yeah, keep track of what's happening? And in fact, if you can really have the foresight to see what's going to coming up, and you can have the product, you know, far exceed the expectation, then I think you are in great steps. Because, you know, good example, if you talk about, you know, maybe the iPhone today, I don't think that, you know, consumer are going to tell you what they want, but in fact they deliver an innovation that in fact exceed the consumer expectation, because they think beyond. And that is, for me, a good example of winning the consumer hearts. Yeah, it's not about, you know, only asking what you want, because sometimes the consumer, they don't even know what they want.
Exactly.
Yeah, so that's a good example to maybe share to the group.
Explore new experience. Provide them with new experience. That could be one key to step ahead of the industry. It will be one key step that you can do to win the consumer hearts and minds. A couple of things that I really picked up from this conversation, and I really think that is very interesting. Let me summarize it up for you. Number one, to think in terms of holistic view, holistic approach. So not about the individual, but it's about organization. Number two, we talked about we're going to do it by the passion, by integrity of the firms. Number three, we're going to do it by build up the relationship. We know them and also let them know us. We can take advantage of, you know, the internet era and so forth. Come to the point, and I think at some point right here, I can conclude that for the consumers today, one size never fits all. One size always fits one. And I think this is a very challenging, comes down to the industry that we are in right now. It's a large amount and a large segmentation. So leads to the next questions. How would this innovation, technology advances, how it would help get into the consumers in terms of the details, or what can we do to influence the consumers for today and in the future? Peter?
I think about influencing consumers. I think it's a dangerous route to go. We in Tesco see it understanding the customer and trying to meet their needs. Perhaps sometimes trying to go a bit, you know, trying to get a bit ahead, but only if it is a trend that is emerging somewhere. I think it's a dangerous route to go into innovation too heavily and try too many things, because it's very costly, it's risky. I think it's only 1% or so of innovation ever brings any profits and delivers real growth in the future. So consumers tell us through, you know, we have a club card system, you know, all of those internet information from blogs and whatever. We know a lot about what consumers want. So just understanding that and trying to do it will take us many, many years. And I think it's a balance of innovation and actually delivering something real, something pragmatic, something that is sustainable for the future.
Can you give me some example that in the Tesco that actually implemented, and it was an innovation at the time and turned out to be a grand successful for the today's business?
So let's say in Thailand we had a great example of innovation was We traditionally thought customers wanted to come to Tesco and buy grocery products and non-food, and they wanted to buy the fresh products in the wet market. We then said, okay, if it was in the wet market and it's very important for customers to have really, really fresh leafy vegetables that are supplied on the day at great prices, we saw that working in the wet market. We just took that thing and put it into our shops to make it easier for customers to not have to go to the wet market and to our shop at the same time. We piloted in a few stores. It worked really well. So it's now been rolled out into every store, and we sell something like 50 different kinds of fresh leafy vegetables supplied every day at prices of the wet market, and it works well.
It was successfully done.
Yeah.
I think another example of where the retail industry in Thailand has responded quickly to changes in consumer behavior has been the growth of the convenience store sector. So originally led by 7-Eleven, but then with the Tesco Express broadening the offer, moving from pure convenience to a small neighborhood grocery store. My employer, we're opening as many Big C's as quickly as we can to catch up.
This is a catching up game.
But it's something that, you know, let me think back. 10 years ago, it wasn't on the agenda of any of the major retailers. And yet the industry changed. We recognized that people wanted to shop more frequently. They didn't want to travel. They would do their top-up shops locally and their stock up in the hypermarkets, and it's transformed the industry. And it's now the fastest growing part of the industry.
That's right.
And that's, you know, a very dynamic thing, from nothing to the fastest growing part of the industry inside 10 years.
We just heard from the retailer side. Let us hear from the supplier side or the producer side. What do you think in terms of technology advancement?
I react to news a little bit on convenience, and maybe talk a bit on the technology from the supplier side. I think the trend of convenience is very obvious, and I can see from the number of stores that's springing up in the last few years, and mainly the majority are basically a small store like convenience store. And then if you ask ourselves why is that, and I think there are a few things from the consumer perspective that's really drive this. From the behavior point of view, I think the people today has I think, you know, a bit of impatient because they have limited time. They are time poor. They have to work, maybe, you know, with traffic and long hours and all this and that. And that is basically a key trend that, you know, consumer are basically look for something that's really fast,
Really convenient.
and then one-stop service, and then convenient. And that is, I think, coming from, I think, the lifestyle of the people, especially in the urban. So urbanization, work-life balance, and the time that they have, really forcing them to have this sort of behavior. And I think a lot to do with the behavior of the consumer today also very connected to many gadgets, right? iPad, iPhone, all this and that, and everything has to be fast.
Not connected,
From their
addicted.
fingertips, and if you can't really wait, and if you want to go to, let's say, one bank, and you have to go to, you know, 4 or 5 desks, you can forget about it. I mean, they're going to get impatient. And that is, I think, the consumer behavior point of view. They are looking for something speed, and that is not surprise why Tesco you have the line, right? That, you know, you don't want consumer to wait for too long.
Yeah, the green line.
And that probably coming
green
from the
line on the
inside.
floor, is it?
Yeah, they don't want to wait. Another trend that I think convenience will have this benefit, because the young, not the young, I mean urbanization, I think family size today is getting much smaller. And you can see also the sale of the condominium, right? It's booming because I think the family size no longer, you talk about 5, 6 anymore. And it's been declining years on years. 1 to 2 already regarded as a family size today. And that means these people, they have, you know, a studio, 1 bedroom, they just only stay there and then just, you know, go to convenience, grab up something and eat. And eating out is their habit. So this is the behavior that, you know, really shows that, you know, they don't need to go to a big hypers anymore, because they only just need something for them, for 2 or for himself. And that's, I think, the key, maybe root cause of why convenience is really booming. And it has obvious impact to the people like us, from the supplier point of view, that we need to think that consumer also shifting their behavior to buy more convenience, they're looking for a small size. They don't looking for a big basket size anymore. And the big basket size maybe it is a size for the hypers. But convenience, it has to be a single. Yeah, and you have to also maybe store it fresh, ready to drink or ready to eat, because they look at convenience store as maybe their kitchen,
The refrigerator.
their
perhaps.
refrigerator, and it's not the shops anymore in their definition, because they don't have the kitchen or the refrigerator the work the house anymore. And that is what I think I like to share, that this is a trend that I think coming very strong. And for our product category, it is very obvious that in the convenience store, in fact, our number one customer is convenient, and which is a big surprise, because I used to work in FMCG for a long time, and hyper is, seems to be number one and number two. But in foods category, convenience store is by far the biggest customer, and that is really show that this is only going to grow. Okay, so the next one I'm going to maybe share a little bit about technology, and I would like to pick up three things.
You need to PowerPoint presentation to pull up.
No need. I think only three things that I see as a trend that maybe impact our business. One is internet and social network. A second one is mobile, using mobile phone. And the last one is online shopping. And maybe I just want to explain a little bit on internet and social network and how it's impact our industry or maybe our company. Just in brief, that I was surprised as well to learn in many articles that Thailand or even Bangkok is one of the highest users of social network.
Yeah, that's right.
Right?
We
You may
have
have
the
this
highest
information.
population, the Facebook population in the world, higher than Jakarta.
Yes.
Yes. But I don't know what to
And-
do with that.
And that is only key fact. But what does it really mean? So it means that people connect, people talk, people share, people recommend. Also, talk about your brand as well, and they're willing to give comments, and that's